You know that moment when she doesn't text back, when hours pass and your mind starts racing? You pick up your phone once, then again, convincing yourself something is wrong, and before you even realize it, you've sent 3, 4, maybe 10 messages, each one making you feel smaller, weaker, more desperate. Every man has been there, and every man knows the shame that follows. But here's the part no one ever told you. The power isn't in chasing her. It's in ignoring her once, just once. Because when you stay silent instead of scrambling, when you choose self-control instead of panic, something shifts. You stop feeding her ego and you start reclaiming your own. She begins to wonder why you're not chasing. She begins to feel what you've been feeling all along. And suddenly, the game changes. Most men think silence is weakness. The truth, silence is the loudest answer you'll ever give, and once you learn to use it, you'll never look at women or yourself the same way again. Most men live their lives terrified of silence. The thought of not responding to her message instantly, the fear of leaving her on read, the fear of not giving her what she demands the second she pulls away, it eats them alive. They imagine silence as death. They imagine if they don't chase, if they don't prove themselves, if they don't make her feel secure every second, she'll vanish into the arms of someone else. And so they panic. They panic at the thought of losing her, not realizing the real loss is happening inside them, the loss of dignity, of self-respect, of masculine grounding. I want you to think about this for a second. Picture a man who's deeply in love with a woman. She's beautiful, magnetic, and she has the ability to make his day with a single smile. But one evening, she doesn't reply. Hours pass. His mind begins to race. He convinces himself she's upset, or she's losing interest, or maybe she's already moving on. He picks up his phone once, twice, 3 times. Before the night is over, he's typed a dozen messages. Hey, are you okay? What's wrong? I miss you. Each one emptier than the last. Each one a desperate attempt to pull her back into his orbit. But what he doesn't see, what he refuses to admit, is that every single message lowers him in her eyes. Every text says, I need you more than you need me. Every call says, I cannot stand on my own. He thinks he's showing love, but what he's really showing is fear. Carl Jung once said, what you resist persists. And when you resist silence, when you cannot allow space, when you cannot let the distance breathe, you trap yourself in an endless cycle. You chase what pulls away. You run toward what is retreating. And the faster you run, the faster it retreats. That's why ignoring her once, not as a game, not as manipulation, but as a demonstration of self-possession, changes everything. Silence is not nothing. Silence is a mirror. And when you allow silence to exist, the truth reveals itself. Here's the hard truth. Most men don't realize that their desperate need to be noticed, their constant need for approval, doesn't bring a woman closer. It suffocates her. Women, just like men, crave the taste of mystery. They crave the thrill of uncertainty. When everything is predictable, when a man is always available, always chasing, always proving, she may appreciate the comfort, but she cannot feel the fire. Because fire only burns where there is oxygen. In your silence, your willingness to let her wonder is oxygen. Now imagine this second man. He too has a woman who pulls away. She slows her responses. She grows cold. But instead of panicking, instead of flooding her phone, he takes a breath. He sets his phone down. He goes to the gym. He finishes his work. He meets his friends. He pours into his mission. And in that silence, he tells the world, I do not beg. I do not chase. I do not crumble when attention is withheld. At first, she feels freedom, relief. She thinks she has space. But as the hours turn into days, something begins to shift. She glances at her phone. She replays the last conversation. She wonders, Why hasn't he reached out? Did I lose him? Is there someone else? Her imagination begins to punish her. Her mind begins to chase him. And in that moment, the balance of power has shifted. He is no longer the desperate boy trying to hold her. He has become the man she now has to earn. You see, men fear silence because it forces them to confront something deeper. It forces them to confront themselves. The reason you panic when she doesn't reply isn't just about her, it's about you. It's about the fact that deep down, you've tied your worth to her attention. You've convinced yourself that you only matter when she validates you. And so when that validation disappears, you feel worthless. That's why ignoring her once feels terrifying. Not because of her, but because of what you must face in yourself. But this is where the transformation begins. When you can hold silence, when you can let her go unanswered, when you can sit with the discomfort of space, you begin to reclaim your power. You begin to teach yourself that your value does not rise and fall with her moods, her texts, her calls. You begin to step into what men throughout history have always known. Masculinity is not built on constant approval. It is built on the ability to stand firm, to wait, to let the world reveal itself instead of forcing outcomes. Think about the old myths. The hero never becomes who he is by clinging to comfort. He doesn't stay in the village, surrounded by warmth, begging for reassurance. He goes out into the wilderness. He enters the cave. He faces the dragon. And in that darkness, in that silence, he discovers his strength. Ignoring her once is not just about her. It is a symbolic act. It is you stepping into the wilderness of your own fears. It is you facing the dragon of your neediness. And when you face it, when you realize you will not die if she doesn't reply, you begin to breathe differently. You begin to walk differently. You begin to carry yourself not as a boy begging for love, but as a man who knows his value. Most men don't understand this. They believe that persistence proves love. They believe that the more they show up, the more they beg, the more they give, the more she will stay. But attraction is not built in suffocation. It is built in space. It is built in the tension of not knowing. She cannot long for you if you never give her the chance to miss you. She cannot respect you if you crumble every time she pulls away. Respect is not given to the man who chases. Respect is given to the man who can hold the line, who can wait, who can let her feel the absence. And here's what happens. Sometimes when you ignore her once, she will test you harder. She will go silent longer. She will push, trying to see if you break. Most men fail here. They think, I've ignored her for a day, I've proven my point, and they collapse back into begging. But the man who stands firm, the man who refuses to betray himself, discovers something astonishing. He discovers that she cannot resist forever. Because women, like men, are wired to seek what values itself. And a man who values himself enough to ignore once, without fear, without games, without anger, sends a message louder than any desperate plea. That message is, I am not afraid to lose you, because I cannot lose myself. So what happens when you ignore her once? She may call, she may not, she may chase, she may pull further. But the real transformation is not in her, it is in you. It is in the way you realize that silence is not weakness. Silence is power. Silence is the line in the sand where you stop giving your soul away for scraps of attention. And once a man tastes that power, once he sees that he can survive the silence, he never goes back. He never begs again. He never floods her phone again, because he knows the man who can ignore once is the man who is truly free. You see, the reason ignoring her once feels like death to most men is because deep inside, they've made her the center of their existence. Their entire sense of self is tied to whether she's happy or upset, whether she's warm or cold, whether she answers quickly or leaves them hanging. And when you live like that, every little shift in her energy controls you. You're no longer a man, you're a puppet. A puppet dancing for a woman's attention, begging for scraps of validation, hoping she will never leave. But here's the paradox. The harder you beg, the more certain she becomes that she can leave anytime she wants. Because if you're always available, if you're always chasing, she knows you'll never walk away. And when she knows you'll never walk away, she no longer values you. Think back to the times in your life where you gave too much. Maybe you were in love with a girl and you thought that love was enough. You texted her all the time. You bent your schedule around hers. You gave up your own hobbies, your own dreams, your own friendships just to be available. You thought this would make her love you more. But instead, she started pulling away. Her text slowed down. She made excuses. She seemed less excited to see you. And the more distant she grew, the more desperately you chased, until one day she left. And you sat there broken, confused, angry, asking yourself, what more could I have given? You thought love was about constant giving, but you never realized that by giving yourself away completely, you left nothing for her to desire. You gave her everything except the one thing she actually craved, the challenge of earning you. That's why ignoring her once is so powerful. It's not about playing games. It's not about manipulation. It's about reclaiming the challenge. It's about reminding her and yourself that your time, your energy, your attention are valuable, that they cannot be taken for granted. And when she feels that shift, when she realizes that you will not collapse the moment she pulls away, she sees you differently. She sees you not as a boy who can be controlled, but as a man who must be respected. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who fell for a woman so deeply that he lost himself. Every day he checked his phone 100 times, waiting for her reply. Every night he replayed their last conversation, wondering if he said something wrong. He thought love meant obsession. He thought love meant constant pursuit. But one day he noticed something. The more he chased, the colder she became. The more he reached, the more she withdrew. He was confused. But he couldn't stop. He thought if he just tried harder, if he just showed her more, she would finally return the love he craved. But she never did. And when she finally left, he felt like his world had ended. He was broken, until one night, staring at the ceiling, he realized the truth. He hadn't lost her. He had lost himself long before she ever walked away. He had abandoned his own worth, his own dignity, his own life, just to win her attention. Now imagine if he had done one thing differently. Imagine that first night she went cold. Instead of chasing, he had stayed silent. Imagine he had gone to the gym, finished his work, sat down with his friends, lived his life. Imagine she looked at her phone, expecting his desperate messages, and found nothing. At first, she would have felt relief, the space she thought she wanted, but then the silence would start to press in. She would start to wonder, why hasn't he texted? Did I push him too far? Is he losing interest? Did I make a mistake? And that wondering would eat at her. Because women don't crave men who make them comfortable every second. They crave men who make them feel something. They crave the spark of uncertainty, the thrill of desire, the ache of missing you. And here's the truth most men don't want to admit. When you are always available, you rob her of that ache. You rob her of the chance to miss you. And when she cannot miss you, she cannot desire you. That's why the silence, as terrifying as it feels, is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. It is the oxygen that allows the fire to burn. But let's go deeper. Why do most men fear silence so much? It's not just about losing her. It's about what the silence exposes inside them. The silence forces you to face yourself. It forces you to confront the truth that maybe you don't have much going on outside of her. Maybe your life has become so small, so empty that she is your entire world. And when she pulls away, you're left staring at that emptiness. That's why you rush to fill it with her replies, her attention, her voice. Because if she's not there, you're forced to confront your own lack of purpose. And that's the real reason ignoring her once feels so impossible for most men. Because it's not just ignoring her, it's facing themselves. It's realizing that without her constant validation, they feel like nothing. But this is where your transformation begins. Because once you can hold that silence, once you can sit in it and not collapse, you discover something powerful. You discover that you are more than her attention. You discover that your value is not tied to her moods, her replies, her affection. You discover that you can survive the silence. And once you realize that, you become unshakable. That is why ignoring her once is symbolic. It is not about punishing her. It is about proving to yourself that you can stand alone. It is about breaking the chain of neediness that has kept you small your whole life. It is about stepping into the wilderness of your own fears and coming out stronger. Now let me paint another picture. Imagine she goes cold and you don't react. You stay calm, you stay silent, you focus on your work, your body, your mission. A day passes, then two. At first she thinks nothing of it. She enjoys the space, but then a thought creeps in. Why hasn't he reached out? She checks her phone. Nothing. She waits. Still nothing. Slowly, curiosity turns into anxiety. She replays your last conversation. She wonders if she said something wrong. She wonders if she pushed too far. She wonders if you're losing interest. And suddenly she's the one chasing. Suddenly she's the one who cannot stand the silence. And in that moment, the balance has shifted because now she feels the fear you once carried. And you're free. So what happens when you ignore her once? Maybe she calls, maybe she doesn't. Maybe she comes running back, maybe she walks away, but none of that matters as much as this. You will finally see yourself clearly. You will see whether you are a man who needs her attention to breathe or a man who can breathe on his own. And once you taste that freedom, once you realize that silence is not weakness but power, you will never go back. You will never chase again. You will never beg again. Because you will know the truth. The man who can ignore her once is the man who cannot be broken. You've been taught your whole life that love means chasing, that attention means value, that if you don't hold on tight enough, everything will slip away. But the truth is, nothing worth keeping is held by desperation. What's meant for you is not won by begging, it's revealed by silence. When you ignore her once, not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of strength, you send a message she cannot ignore. You tell her, my value doesn't crumble when you withdraw. I stand whether you're here or not. And that changes everything because silence is not empty. Silence is a mirror. It shows her who you really are. And it shows you more than anything who you've always been capable of becoming. So ignore her once. Let the silence speak. And when it does, you will learn the most important truth a man can ever know. That the respect you're chasing from her begins the moment you give it to yourself.